Hello fellow modelers, Bruce here. Well, this will be update number 5 on the upper deck Slate Run Railroad. I've boxed out my tunnel to go through the view block mountain, made it out of black foam core board, and that is a plaster tunnel portal. I have no idea who made it, but I picked it up as part of a much larger estate sale purchase here in Michigan. So just kind of have that sitting in place right now, getting an idea of what it looks like. I think that'll work just fine. Now I will hot glue some foam around that black tunnel portal, or tunnel, and then I'll be able to glue the plaster portal to that foam once I've colored the portal and so forth. So yeah, getting there. Alrighty, more on this update soon. Talk to you then. Okay, I got some foam glued onto the foam board for the tunnel. By the way, I am using liquid nails for projects as my adhesive for anything foam to foam, or in this case foam to foam board, and works well. Then I have the tunnel portal that I will glue onto the front, put this in place, and start putting foam all around it and building the mountain. So getting some progress here. All right, give you an update again later. Well, terrain is starting to go in. Starting to piece it up a little bit just to see what it would look like. These are not glued in yet, none of these are. But that cut will have a rock face on it and disappear into the tunnel, and of course continue out here. I have to get this a little higher yet for clearance, but not by much. Probably use some of those Woodland Scenics riser pieces of foam just to bring that up, without all the surrounding area going up as well. Of course, then as you approach the tunnel portal, it'll start rising to the top of that view block centerpiece there. And it is still, after putting in a bridge here, it's still my plan to get an HON 30 rail line that just comes here, goes around probably to where the white starts there, and then goes around over that bridge, around the end of the view block, and then around the other side. I'm playing with the idea of putting a trestle here, so this gets higher with those pieces of foam like you have over there, and then I'll be able to cut down through here too and get a decent spot for a trestle, curved trestle. Someplace in my stash I have the Campbell curved trestle, so see if that'll work. All right, starting to get nice out, so I've been working outside during the day, and by that time I'm a little bit tired at 78 years old, especially the first couple times you go out in the spring. So not getting a lot done at night, but I figure if I can get an hour in, it's all good. All right, talk to you again soon. Well, I don't think I'm going to have to raise the ground on either side of that cut in order to get the clearance I need for the bridge. Just the thickness of the cork will do it. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be narrow gauge for the most part, locomotives and so forth. The largest, if I do put since it's going to be dual gauge trackage, if I put a standard grade gauge loco, it's not going to get much taller than John's little switcher there, so that should be plenty of clearance. I will try to reuse that king post bridge that I made from my last layout. And what I'm going to have to do is put some log bents on either side of that bridge to look like, I've put that in the middle of the span. And I'll show you a picture of the kind of bridge I'm talking about. I think the picture I'm going to show you has a queen post bridge, but you'll get the idea. And then in the background will be a couple of those oil wells, and of course the mountain will come down in there too. So yeah, the scene as I've pictured it in my head for 15 years is starting to come together. All right, continue the update later. All right, time for another little update. I built the bents for the king post bridge that will span that cut that goes to the tunnel. Now I have to build the approaches that'll go from each side of the cut to the bridge. That shouldn't take me too long, but yeah, that's gonna work out okay. And that's probably close to where it'll be as far as distance from the tunnel. More foam now is permanently installed, and I think in update number 3, I think it was update 3, could be 4, when I lowered that center spine of the view block, I said now I might be able to create a little scene partway up the mountain where, an old miner who is working his almost useless mine, still living in a shack up on the hill, has an access road, like a switchback road that goes up the mountain. Just a dirt road for him and his donkey cart. And I'm just kind of roughing out to see what it might look like. I'm not going to have those big blocks of foam, that's for sure. But yeah, I think somewhere around this level, entrance to the mine, little shack, and down on this level where the switchback changes direction, a flat area with a little lean-to shed for the donkey, and no room for him up by the mine, and then come down to ground level here. So that's kind of the idea I had, still playing around with it. I think it's doable. I need to do a little more roughing in first, but we're getting there. So everything step by step coming together. As far as the other side, well, let me turn this off and we'll go meet on the other side. All right, now we're on the back side of the view block. I've cut quite a bit of foam that I'll be needing. It's just laying there. I did not have a tunnel portal for this side, so I went on to eBay and put in the Campbell plaster single track portal, and I almost jumped on one for about $15 plus shipping, and I kept looking, and then I found one for $8 plus shipping. So I got it. It's a little bit smaller actually than the other portal, but it will look fine. You're not seeing the two of them at once. So tunnel portal is glued in place. But I haven't really started to work on any contours or anything on this side. I'm focusing on the other side first, and then we'll go from there. Yep, still planning to do a HON30 set of tracks here that'll go back and forth around this mountain with an auto reverse loop. So see how that comes out. All right. Talk to you again soon. All right, I wanted to just take a minute before I get too much further packing crumpled up paper between the supports here to show you the, I'm going to call them formers that I installed to the backbone of that view block to give the shape of the mountain. Now that is some cheap packing foam for the last couple of years with this project in mind. You know, if we bought a monitor for the computer or I don't know, you name it, any electrical thing that I bought, I saved the packing foam, which is really junk. But yeah, I've cut it to the rough form of the mountain coming out from the center. And there's one or two good pieces of foam, this pink one on the left and the one just to the right of the tunnel. But everything else is junk, and I have the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going in with craft paper that I've also been saving from packing boxes that have come in the mail. Can't wait to finish the project so I can clean up in the back room. But yeah, I'm sticking that now between those formers, and I'm just holding it in place with some masking tape right now. But I'm going to come back with a hot glue gun and glue cardboard strips horizontally along those supports, which will better hold everything in place, and then plaster cloth and so forth. But I just wanted to show you at this step. Now all of that foam is being held in place by hot glue, and of course it'll be covered with plaster cloth and then a layer of Sculpt-A-Mold or something. It'll be strong enough. All right, I'll come back once I have it all packed up and maybe with the cardboard strips, packed with paper and cardboard strips, and show you again, and then film a little bit of me putting the plaster cloth on, I guess. All righty, back to work. All righty, a few minutes later, I got that all prepped now for the plaster cloth. I'll probably do that much of it because I have to do some finagling here to get the switchback path up to the mine where I have that opening up there. So yeah, I'll just to get my fingers wet in plaster cloth again, I'll do this section first, and when I do, I'll give you an update. Alrighty, talk to you soon.
Well, it's time to install some plaster wrap onto the forms that I made on that mountain. I was trying to think when was the last time that I actually used plaster wrap, and I think it's got to be at least 20 years ago when I made some small mountains back in New Jersey. And digging around, I still had a couple of unopened packages that I picked up along the way. And one of them was from Micromark, so they're a vendor where you can pick up plaster wrap. That's a full roll there. And another, this is Scenic Express. It's supposed to be a bigger roll. It has a price of $8.49 on it. I picked up, has to be more than a decade ago, so I don't know what the pricing would be now. And I actually also have, this is the real stuff. Where the heck I got it, I don't know, but this is what doctors use, polymer plaster bandage, extra fast setting. So, when you have to put a cast on your wrist or whatever. It's a shorter wrap. So those are the things that I had laying around, and since I think this is going to take more than what I had, nowadays you just go on to Amazon. There's 4 rolls, good size, delivered to my doorstep in one day, total $13. So yeah, that's kind of where people go nowadays for their plaster wrap. So that's what I have, and I will shortly go over to the layout and we'll install some plaster wrap and see how that goes. And I'll talk to you again soon. Well, you might wonder why in the world, in the middle of this update on the Slate run, that I'm including a little piece about bumpy chenille. which is, as they say, a craft basic. Now, my mother was a crafter, and it seems she was using bumpy chenille all the time, which is like a big pipe cleaner that has grown goiters or something, and they got all these swells in them, you know, and then the rest of it was like a pipe cleaner in between. So one time when she was getting older and kind of giving up on the crafting, she dropped off 3 packages of bumpy chenille, at that time made by a company called Nicole, and said, "Oh, you'll find some use for it in your modeling." I was a bit doubtful, I'll tell you the truth, but as time went on, I did indeed find some good uses for bumpy chenille. And as with many things, I start by getting rid of the bright green color, and so I spray paint them with Rust-Oleum Satin London Gray, if you can see that, and it gives you this color. And just to see the difference, here's the original, and there's the ones that are painted with London Gray. And then what I do is start cutting them down, and you can see when you get one that one side looks a little pointier than the other. So this looks like the top of a tree, and this doesn't. And I just take a wire cutter, get down near the top there, and cut that off. And that will be the top of the bush or tree or whatever. And then I come in with some cheap White Rain ultra strength maximum hold hairspray and soak it down, and then sprinkle some of your favorite color. Mine is conifer green. Let's see if I can get that to focus in here. Okay, finally. Conifer green, green turf. This is by JTT, which I think might be from Model Rectifier Corporation. I don't know, their line of greeneries. But it does give you a conifer green look. So I sprinkle that on top of the hairspray. And yeah, you got yourself either a small tree or a large bush. And if you don't want them all the same height, you can just take a scissors on what's the bottom of the tree and cut off the foliage again to get down to just the trunk, if you will. It's the pipe cleaner part of it. So you want a shorter tree, you just go like this. And I find they make fairly decent looking shrubs around a house or in a setting like that. And I'm just going to make that a little pointier here. And yeah, now this doesn't have the fine turf on it yet. And you can cut that stem down to where you want it, so you don't have to have them all the same height. They also make a good looking line, like I have on my property line, a whole row of upright arborvitaes, and they do a good job of simulating that. So yeah, bumpy chenille, my mother was right, you can find a use for it. And you'll see in a little while, when I do a final update on this video, where I've used it in this particular setting. Alrighty, talk to you again soon. Well, I hope I'm not in the way too much as we film this. I've put one layer of the plaster cloth over my forms and so forth over here, and have a little bucket of warm water here. Cut the plaster cloth into usable size pieces here. Let's soak them, get them good and wet. let them drip off a little bit. I'm going on with a second layer now. It likes to stick to itself. I say I haven't used this stuff in 20 years, so it's like starting all over again. Okay. Get it in place. Now, part of the key to working with this plaster cloth is after you've got it positioned is you have to rub over the surface gently. And what you're trying to do is to pretty much spread that plaster, which is now activated now that it's wet, into all the parts of the surface. And this will adhere nicely to the layer under it. And 2 layers is sufficient for what I want to do. As a matter of fact, probably 1 layer would have sufficed, but because I am going to go over it with a layer of Sculptamold, but and they tell you, well, one of the 2 packages that I had said overlap it 1 inch, and the other one said overlap it half the length of the cloth. So I'm going about 1.5 inches or so of overlap. And again, just kind of activating all that plaster and smoothing it out. And it's getting more solidified now. I should say it's getting more stable. But I'll tell you, this is almost one of those rolls. This is the roll I showed you that came from Micromark, and it just about used up the entire roll. Get this down in place here. You have some time to work with this. You don't have to go crazy. If my voice sounds a bit froggy in this segment, it's because I've just on about day 4 of a bad head cold, and it's just starting to feel better now. And it will be a couple more days, I imagine, before my voice sounds normal again. And this will just about finish up this side, and then I'll go to the other side and work on that. Those wrinkles out. Smooth down the edges in particular and get that plaster worked in good. It will solidify pretty quickly. Try some of this smaller cloth here a minute. See how that works. For a small spot here. Seems to work okay, blend right in. Like I said, it's going to be covered with Sculptamold, for goodness sakes. That's going to cover up any number of shortcomings for what I have underneath it, that's for sure. All right, used up some of that, want not, or waste not, want not. Always get that one backwards. And that's it. Two coats of plaster cloth on this side of the mountain, just over the tunnel portal. And yeah, I'll go over to the other side, and I think we'll finish up the update video with just an overview of what I've accomplished. All right, talk to you soon. I think it's time to wrap up this update video, so let's just do a quick overview of what's transpired since update number 4. I tidied up this end of this rock casting wall. It had been sitting there bare since a year ago when I finished that. Started playing with putting some weeds in it, and I'll do more of those. And over there I picked up the foliage on the mountain backdrop behind the covered bridge. And back here is where the Campbell grist mill will sit approximately. You get the idea of that. I've been adding foliage to the backdrop, getting there with it. And you can see on top of that I've put some shrubs, trees, whatever, to break up the outline. And there's those bumpy chenilles trees. There's 2 there. There's 1 in the middle over here. These deciduous trees are just made from small branches from super tree. And that one too. And let's see, going down this way, more foliage needs to be added. There's the opening to the Idaho Springs mine, and some rough idea of where the trackage serving that mine will be. And coming down here, I have now gotten 2 layers of plaster cloth over the forms on the mountain around that area. Now I have to continue building forms around here to get to that mine and finish that up. But so progress. I've starting to get some 3D mountain look to that, and I'm pretty happy with the progress since our last update, especially since it is springtime and lots of work in the yard. Alrighty, that's it for this update. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you've not already done so, please subscribe to my channel. Alrighty, talk to you again soon.